Well, hello and hi there guys, this is Sunmaran and welcome to Stein Codes. Today's topic for tutorial is creating an RTS game inside of Godot. So to start, first download the asset pack for medieval RTS from kenny.nl. Well, you can find the link down in the description. And other than that, fire up Godot. For this tutorial, I'll be using the version 3.0.2, but for most purposes the future versions should work properly, so just get it up to the latest version available when you're watching this tutorial. So create a new project and I'm going to name it real time strategy 2D, and I'm going to create it inside of my D drive, the GitHub folder, and I'm just gonna hit create folder, and this creates the folder for me. Now all I have to do is hit create and edit, and we have the screen displaying our game or the project created. So to get started, well, first we have to import the assets. To do that, just right click and go show in file manager and go to GitHub, and or whatever place you have placed your assets in. I've just placed it right there, and once you extract them, this is the kind of folder you'll get. And inside of PNG, find default size and copy everything over here. I'm just gonna cut them and create a new folder, call it sprites, and paste everything inside of it, and open Godot, and it should import everything into it, and you can just go and see your files have been imported. So the step one is to create all the tiles that we'll be needing, or the tile sets that we'll be needing to create a game. But before that, let me tell you that first we need to organize a scene so that we can create games in a much more proper fashion. And for that, I'll be creating a few folders as of now. The first folder will be called tilesets. The next one I'm gonna call scripts, and the last one I will call scenes. So this is the way I like to arrange my things in Godot. You can use any way or any method you like. I also like to add another layer to it, such as levels or demo and all that kind of stuff, just so as to help me with debugging purposes. But for this tutorial, I'll be going with this kind of setup. Just select whatever folder you like to go to. From here, I would like to go to the sprites folder, and then the tile, and then create a new node 2D, and I'm going to name it tileset env, and this is will be the tile set for the environment tiles. And I'm just gonna select all most common environment tiles from this PNG section, and once you're done with that, just turn on the snapping and configure snap to 32 by 32 pixel, and just arrange everything properly. And once you have arranged everything, you might want to rename everything, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not gonna rename anything. It's just not gonna be worth it for the sake of this tutorial. Now let's just quickly go and create the next tile, um, next tile set, and which will be another node 2D, and I'm gonna call it tile set path, and I'm just gonna add the specific path items or the path objects to it, and we are done. Now just rearrange them. You can use show grid to help you with arranging things, and you're done. you have now arranged all the things that you wanted. So let's just quickly convert these to style sets. Go to scene, convert to tile set, your tile sets folder, and name it tileset environment or env dot res or tres, whatever you like to call it. And now for the other one, convert to tileset and just change env to path and hit save. So that's it for now. Now the next step will be to using the style sets, and I'm just going to hit don't save for now, as these won't be the permanent tile set that we'll be using. We will likely be modifying them in the future, but for the sake of the current level, this is going to be all that we are going to need. So let's get started with creating a basic scene. I'm just going to create a new node 2D, call it world, and I'm just gonna hit Control S to save, and I'm gonna save it to the scenes, and I'm gonna save it as world. And as you can see, the world.tscn has been created, and this is the scene that we just created and saved. So this is important or necessary step so that you can run the play scene. And there's nothing to show you guys over here. The next step will be to add a tile map, and let's just rename it to environment or env. I'm just going to be using env for short. And add the tile set, make sure the cell size is 64 by 64, and now create the level that you like to see. And let me just quickly create a very basic level. I'm gonna go to bucket fill and fill it up, and we are done. We have created a very basic level or scene over here. You can fill it in the sides, in the corners, wherever you like, but this should be just about enough. Next step is to add the path. So again, add TileMap and make sure it's not the child of the first TileMap, and name it path, and add the tileset path to it. Again, make sure the cell size is 64 by 64, and use this to place your path. And now you can use these various edges to create various things, whatever you like, and use these buttons to rotate it. This is 0°, 90, 180, and 270. So you get the point. Now if you create a mistake, you can right click to undo it or remove it. So I can remove tiles by right clicking on them, Control Z to undo my mistakes, and then just rotate things and place. I just created a basic pathway. Now let's add some buildings to a map so as to add some interest to it. So let's just go to sprites and get a structure. Let's add a simple building, and I would really like to add this building here. And we have created a building, and now I'm just going to create a node 2D, and I'm just going to add these two buildings to this node 2D. I'm going to call it building 1. Now you can add a collision body and everything else to it, but that's all up to you. And I'm just gonna reset. You don't have to reset anything for now, leave it as it is, and we have a scene. But now the most important thing is to add some functionality. So the first thing that we'll be adding is a camera. So let's add a camera 2D, and once we have added a camera 2D, just remove these drag margins and set it to current, and also make sure to set the anchor mode to fixed top left rather than drag center. That will make sure that it is aligned with the box over here. And now hit play, and you'll see your fancy looking world, and it looks pretty good. So it's a decent start. Now what we have to do is cover up some of the basics that we have left, such as camera movement. Camera movement is the first thing that we are going to add. So go and select the scripts folder and rename it camera movement and hit save. And once you have done that, create it, and you should be good to go. Let me just increase the size, and let me just decrease this. Okay, so I'm just gonna uncomment this and delete all the comments. You're not gonna need any kind of comments for this. Okay, so what we have to do is we need some kind of a variable called, I've got a bad habit of typing things in Pascal case, and also of semicolon. So keeping that in mind, I'm just gonna hit speed equal to 10.0 so that it's a float, not a int. Anyways, if let's see, what you have to do next is add some movement. The best way to add movement is using some kind of smoothing function. If you want to add smooth movement, so I'm just gonna set it up position.x equal to, now we need input. So to do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new input x, and we're gonna store the value of input dot is underscore action pressed and UI right, and subtract input dot is underscore action pressed UI underscore left, and just placed a bracket over here and a bracket at the start, and hit enter. And now we know that booleans cannot be interpreted, so the problem here is to convert them to int. So just add a conversion modifier or typecasting, or whatever you like to call it. I've got a bit of an habit to call wrong names. And hit Control S to save it, or you can right click and hit save from there. And now this is your input in the X direction. So what you can do with this input is say position.x is equal to lerp, or you can just simply say for now plus equals input x. Simple enough. Position will be increased by the value of input x, which might be 0, 1 or -1 depending upon which key it has been pressed. And as far as checking this actions, you can go to project settings, and go to input map to see what input left and right are. They are the left and right arrow keys in this case. So let's get started with our game, and you can see that we can move in left and right direction. Pretty neat, but we don't have the speed. So what to do? What you can do is you can multiply it with speed. But if you multiply it with speed, it's not gonna, well, move quite well enough. As you can see, it moves out of the box pretty quickly. So we need some kind of an acceleration. So we can keep increasing the speed over time, but that will be for the next tutorial probably. For now, let's just implement this same setup in another direction. And I'm very sorry for that. And this time I'm going to create input y and UI down minus UI up, and I'm doing UI down minus UI up because in Godot the downside is positive and the upside is negative, so you'll have to flip up the Cartesian system inside of your head, if that makes any sense. Position.y plus equals input y into speed, and as you can see, now we can move in up and down directions as well. Pretty fun. Now probably I'm just gonna add some functionality to zoom in the next video. So bye for now, and see you guys later in the next video, and like, follow and subscribe if you like the content.